Hello dear listener, please subscribe to our channel. Enjoy watching. You ever think life is like a game? A big, messed up scavenger hunt where the clues are half hidden, and you're just supposed to figure it all out without a cheat sheet? I never really thought about it much until my life flipped upside down, until Jenna flipped it upside down. She always loved surprises, my wife did. Loved the thrill of the chase, the mystery of not knowing what would come next. Little did I know she was chasing someone who wasn't me. It started on an ordinary Saturday morning. Jenna was out early, as usual, for her weekend yoga class, or so I thought. I was home, sipping my black coffee and halfway through a crossword puzzle, when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Jenna never left her phone behind, but that day, she did. The screen lit up with a text from Mark, trainer, and something about the way it buzzed once, twice, 3 times set off a weird feeling in my gut. Call it intuition or paranoia, but I picked it up. I know. Trust in marriage is everything, right? But when you see a string of heart emojis and a last night was unforgettable, can't wait for more, trust flies out the damn window. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through their messages. Mark wasn't just her trainer, he was her personal trainer in more ways than one, if you get what I mean. The texts painted a vivid picture of secret rendezvous, heated encounters, and a love affair that had been burning under my nose for months. You know that feeling when your stomach drops, like the world is free-falling and you're just along for the ride? That was me. Anger, disbelief, betrayal, it all swirled together until I could barely breathe. I stumbled into our bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and felt numb. Then, I started to think. Jenna loved puzzles, surprises, games. So, what if I gave her a game she'd never forget? A scavenger hunt that would make her pay for every lie she whispered into my ear, every time she slipped out the door with a smile that used to be just for me. That's when my plan started forming, and believe me, it was a masterpiece. The first clue I left on the kitchen counter next to her abandoned phone. By the time she came home, sweaty and radiant from her yoga class, I had calmed down enough to play the part. I kissed her on the cheek and handed her a note. "What's this?" she asked, all bright-eyed and curious. God, it used to be one of the things I loved most about her, how her eyes lit up at the idea of an adventure. "Happy anniversary, babe," I said, even though our anniversary was 3 weeks away. I planned a little surprise scavenger hunt. Thought we could celebrate early this year. She laughed, the sound like glass in my ears now. "You're so sweet. I didn't even get you anything yet." "Oh, you've given me plenty, Jenna," I thought, but I just smiled and shrugged. "Go on, open it." She unfolded the note and read, "Asterisk, your first clue lies where our love used to bloom. Find the place where secrets loom. Asterisk." She looked up, a smile playing at her lips. "Where our love used to bloom. Think about it," I teased. "And no cheating. You've got to follow the clues, one by one." Her eyes narrowed, playful and intrigued. Challenge accepted. And just like that, she was hooked. Jenna always did love a good mystery. But this wasn't just any game, and the prize wasn't something she'd want by the end. The first clue led her to the park where I proposed, the spot by the old oak tree, where we had carved our initials and kissed like we were the only 2 people in the world. I watched from a distance as she found the second note, tied to a low-hanging branch. She looked around, probably expecting to see me hiding behind a bush, but I kept out of sight. I'd written the next clue in a rhyme, something sweet enough to keep her excited, asterisk to where you swore forever true, there lies the next revealing clue. Asterisk, that clue led her to the little cafe where we'd had our first date. I knew she'd be surprised to find that I'd prearranged her favorite drink, an iced caramel latte, waiting for her at the counter with the next note attached. She had no idea I'd been working on this for weeks. No idea I'd planned every detail while she was sneaking around with Mark. The game had begun, and I could see her eyes gleaming with anticipation. But for me, it wasn't about romance. It was about setting the stage for the kind of finale you only see in psychological thrillers. From the cafe, the trail led her to the gym. Yeah, that gym. The one where Mark worked, and where Jenna had been training so hard lately. This was where things got interesting. I followed her at a distance and watched as she wandered inside, a look of confusion crossing her face. Mark wasn't there that morning. I made sure of it. He was dealing with his own problem, an anonymous tip to his boss that got him suspended for a few days. Call it a warm-up to the main event. The clue in the gym locker was different. No rhyme, no sweetness. Just a simple question, *, are you having fun yet? *, Jenna frowned, her smile faltering for the first time. She looked around, maybe expecting me to pop out with a bouquet of flowers or a goofy grin. But the gym was empty, and so was her expression when she realized this game wasn't quite as innocent as it seemed. I texted her right then, watching her jump as her phone buzzed. *, keep going. The next clue is waiting for you where secrets never stay hidden. *, she hesitated, but her curiosity got the better of her. She left the gym, and I followed from a safe distance. I knew where she'd go next, the luxury hotel we'd once stayed in during a romantic getaway. Only now, it was the scene of her betrayal. I'd watched them once from the lobby security cameras I'd hacked into, watched them disappear into the elevator like a couple of reckless teenagers. When Jenna arrived at the hotel, I was already there, hidden in plain sight. I'd checked in under a fake name, blending into the background like just another guest. I watched as she asked the concierge if there was anything waiting for her. The clerk handed her an envelope, sealed with a red wax stamp. Jenna's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a photo. A photo of her and Mark, taken from that very security camera. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought she might scream. Instead, she clenched her jaw, shoving the photo into her purse. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The note inside the envelope said, * room 214. Last chance to turn back. * Jenna hesitated, looking around as if the walls had eyes. And in a way, they did. I was watching every move she made. My heart pounded in my chest, adrenaline and fury mixing into a potent cocktail. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, the moment she would understand the gravity of what she'd done. She took the elevator to the second floor, her steps growing slower, more uncertain. When she reached room 214, she paused. I could see her from the hallway camera feed, the way her hand shook as she raised it to knock. But she didn't have to. The door opened on its own. Inside, Mark was waiting, confusion and fear etched on his face. He'd gotten a text too, telling him Jenna needed him in that very room. He hadn't known I'd orchestrated it all. Jenna stepped inside, and I could see them exchange frantic whispers. "What's going on?" Mark demanded, but Jenna had no answers. That's when I made my move. I burst into the room, and they both jumped like guilty teenagers caught sneaking out. Jenna's eyes went wide, and Mark took a step back, like I was a ghost come to haunt him. "Enjoying the game?" I asked, my voice calm, almost friendly. "I planned it just for you too." Jenna stammered, I can explain, but I held up a hand, cutting her off. "No need. The clues explain everything, don't they?" Before they could respond, I pulled out a remote and pressed a button. Hidden speakers in the room crackled to life, playing a recording of their last hotel rendezvous. Jenna turned pale, and Mark's mouth dropped open. "See," I said, "you two love playing games. So I figured, why not let you experience one last surprise?" I tossed a USB drive onto the bed. On that is a compilation of every lie, every hotel visit, every whispered promise you made behind my back. And it's currently being uploaded to a private website. A site your friends, your coworkers, even your families will have access to in a matter of minutes. Jenna lunged for the USB drive, but Mark grabbed her arm. "What the hell, man," he sputtered, looking at me like he'd never seen me before. "Oh, and one more thing," I said, ignoring him. "I've booked this room for the next hour. I suggest you two figure out what to do before the whole world knows who you really are." And with that, I walked out, leaving them with the realization that their secret was about to become public knowledge. As I rode the elevator down, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. Revenge isn't always sweet, but damn, it can be satisfying. As I walked out of the hotel, the anger that had burned hot inside me began to cool, replaced by a strange sense of peace. I stepped out onto the busy city sidewalk, the noise and movement of the crowd washing over me. I felt like I was waking up from a bad dream, but the reality of what I'd just done kept me rooted to the spot. My phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me out of my daze. A text from Jenna. Asterisk, please, we need to talk. Come back. Asterisk, I stared at the message for a long moment. The old me, the guy who had trusted her, loved her without question, would have caved in an instant. But that guy was gone, and he wasn't coming back. I ignored the text and kept walking. My feet carried me to a small bar tucked between a laundromat and a used bookstore, one of those places that always seemed empty no matter the time of day. I slid into a booth and ordered a whiskey, neat. As I sat there, the adrenaline fading, I started to wonder, had I gone too far? The USB drive, the private website, the psychological torture, it was all a bit theatrical, maybe even cruel. But then I thought of all the lies Jenna had told, all the times she'd left me in the dark, and I couldn't find it in myself to regret what I'd done. She deserved the fallout. They both did. I downed the whiskey, feeling it burn a warm path to my stomach. As I was about to order another, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. It wasn't Jenna this time, it was an unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. Hello? A familiar voice filled the line. It was Mark. You bastard, he snarled. Do you have any idea what you've done? I leaned back in the booth, smirking. Yeah, Mark, I think I've got a pretty good idea. No, you don't, he snapped, his voice cracking with panic. That website, it's not just private anymore. The link is spreading. My phone won't stop ringing. My wife knows, for God's sake. Jenna's family, everyone's seen it. I frowned. That didn't make sense. I'd set the upload to go live to a closed list of emails, not to go public. I pulled out my phone and checked the status of the site. My heart stopped when I saw it. The website was fully public. Thousands of views. Comments and shares piling up every second. I'd planned to make a small, controlled explosion, but somehow, it had turned into a full-blown detonation. Mark, I said, my voice growing cold, that's impossible. The link was private. Are you telling me someone made it public? Yes, he spat. And now the whole world knows. My career is over, Jenna's life is in ruins. Wait, I interrupted, my mind racing. If neither Mark nor Jenna had made the site public, who had? My stomach twisted as I thought about one other person who could have accessed it, me. Or, more specifically, the security vulnerability I'd used to build the site. Had someone hacked in? The call ended abruptly as Mark hung up, but I barely noticed. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from a number I recognized but wished I didn't, an old college buddy, Eric. He was a cybersecurity expert and the guy who'd helped me set up the site. Asterisk dude, the message read, asterisk what the hell did you do? I got an alert about a major data breach. Looks like someone used our setup against you. Asterisk my blood ran cold. If someone else had hacked the site and blown it wide open, then this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was a disaster, and it was spiraling out of my control. I paid for my drink and stumbled out of the bar, my mind spinning. I had to figure out what was happening, and fast. As I hurried down the street, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Jenna. Asterisk please, I need to talk to you. It's important. Asterisk against my better judgment, I texted back. Asterisk meet me at the park where I proposed. 1 hour. Asterisk I needed to get some answers, and maybe, just maybe, put an end to the chaos I'd unleashed. The park was quiet, the air heavy with the scent of autumn leaves. I sat on the same bench where I'd once knelt down and asked Jenna to spend the rest of her life with me. It felt like a lifetime ago. She showed up a few minutes later, her face pale and her eyes red from crying. "I didn't think you'd actually come," she said, her voice cracking. I folded my arms, the anger still simmering beneath my skin. "Talk." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "Mark and it was stupid. A mistake. But this?" She gestured around wildly. "You've destroyed our lives." I clenched my jaw. I didn't make that website public. Someone else did. Her eyes widened. "What? Who?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," I said. "Did you tell anyone about our problems? Anyone who might have a reason to do this?" Jenna shook her head, looking lost. "No one, except," her eyes narrowed, and she let out a bitter laugh. "Oh my God. Mark." My heart thudded. "What do you mean?" Jenna took a shaky breath. "Mark's been paranoid lately. He told me he was scared someone would find out about us, that he had enemies who'd want to ruin him. He even mentioned hiring someone to keep an eye on things." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "Are you telling me Mark hired a hacker to keep things under wraps, and it backfired?" Jenna nodded, her face crumpling. "That's the only thing that makes sense." I stood up, anger boiling over. This whole thing had turned into a nightmare because Mark had tried to cover his tracks. My plan for revenge had been twisted into something monstrous, something I hadn't intended. "What now?" Jenna whispered, her voice small. I took a long, hard look at her. The woman I'd loved, the woman who'd betrayed me, now caught in a disaster of her own making. Part of me wanted to walk away, to let her deal with the wreckage. But another part of me, the part that still felt something for the girl I'd once loved, couldn't quite let go. "Now," I said, "we clean up the mess. Together." Her eyes filled with fresh tears, but she nodded. We were broken, shattered into pieces, but for the first time in months, we were facing the mess side by side. And as we sat there, in the place where it all began, I realized that even the most twisted games could have a second act, one I wasn't ready to give up on just yet. If you leave a comment, tell us what you think about the story you heard. It's important to us and will help us find and tell stories that you find interesting. Thank you for watching us.